Aloha everybody, welcome to part 2 of Sonic 3D Blast. We're in Rusty Ruin, and the gimmick with Rusty Ruin is that there's a lot of spinning platforms in this level, and when Sonic steps on these spinning platforms, he turns into a whirling tornado. It reminds me of a board game, but I can't remember the name of right now, but it's pretty awesome. Sonic, he'll keep spinning infinitely until you decide to jump, or until you run into some flamethrowers or something. So he'll spin forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, and you can pretty much guide Sonic anywhere you want. The towers I can smash through while spinning, you cannot smash through those towers with a spin dash or any other means of movement. You have to be twirling like a tornado in order to smash certain towers. And that's how I'm going to get to Tails in this one level, so that I can get to the Chaos Emerald. And yeah, it's as simple as that. There's Tails, there's towers blocking me from him. Boom! No more. Gotta love the spinning. Anyway, folks, there's actually one thing I did not mention that I was saving for part 2, but there is a PC version of Sonic 3D Blast, and the PC version is very much like the Saturn version of the game. In fact, it's very much like the Saturn version of the game. Has the same graphics, has the same stupid Chaos Emerald system, which I'm going to talk about later. But the special stage is not like the Saturn version. The special stage is actually pretty different. And it's not like the Genesis version either. So yes, Sonic 3D Blast has a different special stage depending on which console you're playing. Not just Genesis, not just Saturn, but even the PC version has its own different special stage. Isn't that weird? Finding the footage for the special stage was actually a bit of a chore to do, but I did find it and I will show it off. So if you want to see the PC version of the special stage, it's like a combination of the Genesis and the Saturn mixed in together. I mean, it's got this lame, spritey kind of lameness to it, but it's also the same kind of special stage that you would see in the Saturn, just it doesn't look as good, you know? It even uses the same music as the Saturn, and you're still dodging bombs and collecting rings and stuff, but, you know, it's something else, I must say. I had to get this footage off of YouTube, so thank you, original user, whoever you are. I hope you don't mind that I stole your footage to show this off, but yeah. This is the PC version of Sonic 3D Blast special stage. I'm not kidding. That is how it is. Anywho, back to the game. So folks, I've been reading the comments in part 1, and a lot of people don't understand why I'm not playing the Saturn version, or why I'm not playing the PC version, because apparently the PC version is just like the Saturn, except for the special stage. I already covered this. I said very clearly that the music in the Saturn version is inferior to the music in the Genesis version. Some people may disagree, but you'd be wrong. Rarely do I say you'd be wrong, but you'd be wrong in this case. The Genesis has such a memorable soundtrack. Rusty Ruins, the theme we're listening to right now, is so infinitely catchier than the Saturn version of Rusty Ruins. Now, there's nothing wrong per se with the Saturn music. It's just, it's not catchy. It doesn't have a song that sticks in your head the more... Like, it doesn't stick in your head and you don't remember it afterwards. They're well made, I guess, but they're just generic hero music, you know? I don't care about the Saturn soundtrack because it doesn't have a melody that I can hum to. It doesn't have a melody that sticks to my mind. But it's not just the soundtrack that makes me hate the Saturn version, folks. The graphic change I mentioned, I don't like the colors. In Green Grove Zone for Genesis, the level is orange and brown, and it has more color. In Saturn, Green Grove is gray. And then after Green Grove, you move into Rusty Ruins, which is also gray. And also, the thing that's so much different from the Saturn version and the Genesis version is that the Saturn version has added effects, like weather effects. In the Genesis version, Rusty Ruin, as we see it right now, looks perfectly fine. You know, it's bright, it's sunny, we can see the level perfectly, and there's no issue at all. But then, you play the Saturn version, and they decide to add this really stupid rain and weather effect, and it's so obnoxious because it gets in the way. They darken the area, there's raindrops covering the level, there's a small fog that passes through the screen. It makes the level actually harder to see, as opposed to the Genesis version where everything's clear as day. No, the Saturn version felt, oh, we gotta add rain and dark, cloudy effects to make this more realistic, I guess. I don't want realism in a friggin' hedgehog video game where I'm collecting rings and destroying robots and saving birds from fucking a giant mustached man. I don't want weather effects in Rusty Ruin. It makes the level darker, it makes it lame. A lot of these weather effects are annoying. Same goes for Diamond Dust Zone, as you'll see. Well, you won't see, but same goes for the Diamond Dust Zone that we'll be seeing later, you know? I just hate the added graphical effects. I don't like the colors they used. As I said, Green Grove looks so much better orange than it does gray. I hate the colors black, white, and gray. Why would you change Green Grove into a grayish area? And getting past even the graphics and the inferior soundtrack, there's another reason I would rather play the Genesis version over the Saturn version, and it's the Chaos Emerald thing. And I haven't mentioned this in part 1 yet. I was getting to it. A lot of people in the comments have already mentioned it. But in the Saturn version, Tails and Knuckles are still in every level. This is true. And you can use them to get to a special stage. You can use them to get to a Chaos Emerald, just like you would in the Genesis version. The thing is about the Genesis version, though, you can get 2 emeralds per act. In the Saturn version, you can only get 1 emerald per act. Like, let's say I got Tails in Rusty Ruin, I got the Chaos Emerald, and I'm still in Act 1, and then I run into Knuckles. When I clear Knuckles' special stage, I'm not gonna get a freaking Chaos Emerald, I'm gonna get a free man, a 1-up, an extra life, if you will. That is so freaking annoying. Why? Well, for one thing, I think it's either the last zone or the last 2 zones don't have Tails and Knuckles areas, which means you have you have less chances to get the Chaos Emeralds. Because if I can only get 4 by the end of Rusty Ruin, as opposed to all of them by the end of Rusty Ruin, well, that just sucks. You know, sometimes Tails and Knuckles are well hidden. Not every gamer wants to explore every nook and cranny. If they want to take advantage of Knuckles and Tails while they see them, then I'd rather take advantage of them while I see them. I don't know why the Saturn version figured, hey, let's make it so that you can only get 1 Chaos Emerald per act. That's lame. That's so freaking lame. I'd rather get 2 Chaos Emeralds per act. I'd rather use every Knuckles and Tails encounter that I can find and not have to worry about, oh, I only got an extra life because I can only get 1 emerald per act. It's retarded. And on top of that, there's another reason the Saturn version sucks. Load times. Because it's a CD-based video game and not a cartridge-based video game, there are load times, and you have to load each act, and they suck. Johnny from Brain Scratch Comms compared the load times to Sonic 06. I haven't played the game in a long time on the Saturn, but if he's comparing it to Sonic 06 style load times, how is that a good thing? I'd rather play it on a cartridge, which has better music and no loading times. But enough of my ranting about the Saturn version. I don't like the Saturn version. And I got all of the Chaos Emeralds before the end of the 2nd zone, which means I don't have to bumble around in the other zones for more Chaos Emeralds, which means I could just concentrate on the flickies from now on. Booyah! In case you're wondering, no, this is not like Sonic 2 or Sonic 3 and Knuckles. I will not be turning into Super Sonic in this game. Not because I choose not to, it's rather because they don't have Super Sonic in this game. Yeah, what a jip, eh? You get all the Chaos Emeralds and there's no Super Sonic. And if you feel offended by that, I got bad news for you. This is gonna be for the rest of the series. But I'm getting ahead of myself, and don't some smart-ass commenter go, not Sonic Colors, not Sonic the Hedgehog 4. Shut up, you know what I meant. I'm saying until that game that came out in 2010, we're not going to be seeing much of Super Sonic unless it's in the storyline of a future modern game. But I digress. So yeah, the platforming in Rusty Ruins Act 2 is where a lot of people just turn the game off and quit this fucking piece of shit. And it's because if I fell, rather, and missed that platform, I have to start all the way to where the beginning part was, before where you find the dimension ring. And then I have to scale all the way back, and if I miss my platform jump again, I have to scale all the way back, and it's so freaking annoying. I was actually lucky during this run of Rusty Ruin Part 2, and I barely screwed up my platforming, which surprises the hell out of me. But, I hate this isometric view because it requires you to make precise platforming jumps, which makes no fucking sense whatsoever, because it's so hard to do, and it's so hard to pull off, and every time you fall, you have to reclimb the whole goddamn level again just to get back to where you were, and that's just awful level design, folks. That's just awful stage design, period. You don't make an isometric platformer if it's not easy to platform, you know? If there's one thing I hate most in platforming, it's when they put it in stupid things that shouldn't be platformers, like isometric gameplay or a first-person shooter a la Duke Nukem. You know, just keep the platforming to the 2D side-scrollers or the 3D adventure games. Don't put them onto an isometric view. Don't put them onto a first-person shooter. Just keep it where it belongs. Seriously, a lot of people hate Rusty Ruin Act 2 because of the platforming. It's so obnoxious when you screw up the platforming. Like, again, I was lucky there. Sometimes I wouldn't make those platforms. Sometimes I'd accidentally fall in the gap into the holes and screw up my entire run, and that just sucks. But anywho, folks, we are now at Dr. Eggman, and the best boss theme in the whole fucking game. One of my favorite Eggman boss themes ever, quite frankly. I love that Eggman has 2 boss themes in this game. Every odd-numbered level he has 1 boss theme, and every even-numbered level he has this theme. And it's so badass. I love this Eggman boss theme. Anyway, this boss fight's pretty self-explanatory. I don't really have to say much. He drops his claws. They don't even aim for you. He just drops them. You climb on the claws, you jump at Eggman, you keep hitting him. He also has a machine gun that's shooting balls at the bottom, and they don't bounce anywhere. They disappear when they hit the wall. Not really much of a boss fight. But anywho, folks, that was Rusty Ruin. I hate to rant about the Sega Saturn, but I just had to explain to people why I'm playing the Genesis version. Anywho, folks, I will see you in Part 3.